I'm back. I'm just gonna go for a walk. That's what I'm gonna do. Walk around. So you all probably wondering, what? I was born in 1974, but I was born yesterday. Let's just say that. And I don't know why we don't have it where don't accept bullshit. But we are here literally watching people talk about, well, it looks like this, but this is going on. And I mean, I bypass if them stop me, but I'm aggressive. My video, I talked a lot of times about and visions, things that were very much real. And I talked about fear. I talked about fear of the border of Mexico. And I talked about the children. I talked about things that affected me when I was there in California. Things that I did not know at the time was really real. And but we did have we had increments. We knew that kids were being taken. We understood that, and we knew, but people called it conspiracy at the time. It was a legitimate fear. It wasn't anything that was a conspiracy. It was literally a real fear that I felt. And the things that I went through, those things were very much real. We've been through 2016. It's going to be keep going in and out. I don't know why. It's not my mistake. It's just something going on with the feed. So basically, everything surrounding Kamala has been nothing but shady. And I teach my daughter, my 17-year-old, you don't want to be shady. You don't want to be a shady character. You don't want to be out here doing stuff that's mentally not well, that criminals get involved in, and criminals do. And what I mean by that, I'm going to name off some of the shady stuff that this woman has pulled, and how she shadily got into our government. The way she got into our government was shady. Because someone like me, I respect my history. I respect the great ancestors that came before me. And they say this is the standards we stand by for male and female. And that standard is you have to have a family of service to the people, to this country. And that's my history. That's what I followed when I wanted to be president of the United States. When I thought I wanted to go into government. So what I did, I set myself up the proper way, which was get your education, go to school every day, be serious, and then, have a story. Have your American story. Your American story consists of your trials and tribulations of growing up here in America. And not just amongst one group of people, but many groups of people. And your love for humanity and your love for the people of all walks of life. Love to travel, and the only way I was going to get to do that was through the military. So I think, in my opinion, the legitimate way to get into government, our government, you and my government, is for us, and our thinking is you're going to be somebody who's going to have come from a military serving background, or you're going to start as a military service background, or you're going to do college that has something to do with, I did high school. I started out in high school with Air Force ROTC. That's a start. For us as American people, we believe in having that understanding of the country, understanding of our history, understanding of the wars that before, and understanding everything that went on before you. If you don't have that kind of educational background and you're not steering yourself in that way, going to West Point or going to, a great military school, you don't have to have military service. You can go to college and go, do West Point or something that's affiliated. That's not shady. But what is shady is the way Kamala got into the office. And it's very dangerous for us as Americans to allow people to just do that. You got to be qualified. And I don't think, okay, going to school to be a lawyer, going to school to be something serious like that does, because you still got that background of education that is required. But also, what is great, what is super, what makes us feel secure as Americans is having that military background. When you don't have that military background, or your family has not served, her family is not even Americans. Her mom and her dad were not Americans. Hold on a second. Sorry about that. Yes, Mom. What'd you say? Yeah, I called you. Let me call you back because I'm doing a video. I'm doing a YouTube video. Okay, bye. Yeah. So that's what I don't feel secure about. And then I'm hearing that in my community where I'm living, we have drones over our military base just coming in. And then they talk about the balloon, the Chinese balloon. They talk about something was in a tree in a city that's real close to my house. She chose to ski-wee. She chose to ski-wee, and after school, she went to a man that possibly could pay her off her school loans and give her money for BMW. And that's what she chose. She chose a shady way to get into our government. And people just are not seeing that. There's a proper way. If you love the country and you have a deep history connection. See, she doesn't have no connection. And they're trying to fictionize a connection. She has no connection. She doesn't even look like us. She doesn't even look. She looks like a foreign gypsy from another place. Exotic. We're exotic, but she looks, to us, she's exotic. She is not of where we're here. She's not of us at all. I know I sound kind of corny, but I'm just saying there's no connection. And where there's no connection, she can very well bulldoze her way in to our government. And then, because people have their guards down, and she has been allowed to just slip through the cracks. You know what's slipping through the cracks? We know slipping through the cracks too often, because people do it. People try it. And she has done that. She has been able to slip through the cracks. Both of her parents never had the desire to get American citizenship. Kamala didn't grow up with Ronell and Anthony. Kamala grew up with some exotic named men. She grew up with some exotic names. I can't even, I don't want to stereotype and say Muhammad, and I mean, she grew up with that. I lived overseas, so I know how she grew up. I pretty much got an idea of how she grew up. And yes, there's people that look like us in these other countries like that, but they ain't us. They don't share the same things as us, but they very much want to be like us, and they very much envy us. So we've had bad actors in the past that made America look bad by doing shady things in other people's countries. And I talk about that all the time. And that's not good. Because every country has a right to flourish. Just like we are flourishing, they have a right to do that too for themselves. Our rights over here, we have been stifled from the beginning. I'm going to get into the talk about trade, but right now I want to talk about what makes her terrorist. Definitely her parents. They have a whole different ideology. She grew up with a whole different ideology than what us American people have. Her parents both had a different ideology. People say that her mom got into the marches and the civil rights. See, that's one. We got to know what was behind pushing us to pushing us towards asking for civil rights. We would have been better off. I talked about this a long time ago, how we should never beg nobody for civil rights, because that's like asking somebody back into the plantation. We should always grab what we want. And our people always grabbed what they wanted. They grabbed what they wanted, and as a result, we had our guards down, and we didn't know that they were going to come from their communities to our communities attacking us. And that's what happened. But our people did that on their own. They did it without asking for civil rights. They didn't ask for nobody's permission, nobody's rights. They had their own land, and they built, and they gained wealth. So civil rights was not necessary in the 1920s. But once we started, you got to question the same thing that's caused distinctions and like the protests and like to cause all this. It's the same thing that got us caught up in the thing that our people wouldn't have wanted to be caught up in, which was having to be forced to ask the government for things that we knew that the government was responsible for our downfall in the first place. So this is giving context to the understanding of what Trump is accomplishing, not just for us, but for the people, other people. Because other people have been parts of governments that also wanted to suppress the people and put itself above the people. That's why America is so great, because the government is of the people, by the people, and for the people. And the power has always been the people's in this country. But what I'm talking about is how to stay away from a tyrant government. And we fell into a tyrant government because it was set up to destroy our Black Wall Street, to pull us more dependently upon the government, just like our counterparts were dependent on the government. That's why they suffered the Great Depression. We weren't touched by no Great Depression because our money was within our own village. They didn't want that. There was those who wanted big government. And this has been going on. This is American thing, not a colored thing. This is American thing. And I'm going to also take it back to the time when first, because I'm in Virginia, and I'm going to give you some history of how people were independent. And Kamala talks about business. Why do we need money from the government for our business? Because the government wants to control our business. we're gonna, and then this business is gonna talk, it's gonna lead into trade, and you're gonna get my idea of what I'm talking about and how we ended up where we're at now. Because history says that the first settlement here, right? People had trade. My people had trade. All people had trade, which was a skill. Going to a university is fine, but ain't nothing like having a hand-down skill and being skillful at doing something that is beneficial to your community. Making furniture, for example. The universities are for further deeper thinkers, people who want to think tank. And I love that because I went to a university, but I also went to a skilled school. And there's nothing, you can't put nothing, you can continue your education. That's nothing wrong with that. If you love education, you can be a career, career student. But the skills, the hand skills, ain't nothing like it. It's called it's something that took us away from that hand skills. Just like the same programming of seeing a beautiful woman and wanting her by desire. There's a lot of things in this place that has programmed our people's minds to want to do things that are not beneficial to us. And the one thing that hurt us the greatest was the passed down, hand down skills, hand skills. Shoemaking, for example, or furniture making. So that means our government has been compromised for a very, very long time. Very long time. I talked before, because if you're doing a business, a lot of times that's a small businessman, and that's what our country was built upon. And these colonies, we had small areas where people did things in the village, and nobody had to go outside that, right? We had furniture making here in America, so I'm going to get into trade and how we got messed up with that too. So all along in our government, we've always had people that were steering us the wrong way, steering us out, so far out from where we need to be to finish building this place and building the greatest place on the planet to live. And we have done that. This is the greatest place on the planet to live. But when we are being pulled and told, and this is what Trump always talks about, that somehow somebody else builds cars better. And somehow we stop circulating our money within America only. But somehow we find ourselves giving Israel billions and trillions of dollars. Somehow we find ourselves giving Ukraine billions and trillions of dollars. Somehow Iran gets money. Somehow China gets money. All these people get our money. Aren't we not slaves to foreign entities when that happens? We got infrastructure. We still got people. We still have to be lifted up. In America, we have people that can use that trillions and billions of dollars here in America in itself to build America to be the greatest place. Is that fair to our ancestors? That people allow somebody to slip through the cracks? That our government has always made trade better for the outside and not beneficial for us here in the inside? That, and this started years, decades and decades, centuries and centuries, in the early 1900s or the late 1800s, somewhere in there, when with furniture trade. Oh, everybody thought it was great to buy a Queen Victorian style furniture and get it exported from Europe rather than the beautiful furniture styles we had here in America. See, where we're headed to a place that we were led to. And they want this land. They want this country. Like I said, they want to wrangle this country into communism. But people don't understand it. People think that Trump somehow is all these things because, let me put it this way. Why do you listen to somebody like Kamala who incites fear in you, who parents weren't even from this country? She has no deep roots in this country. She has no roots in this country, period. Her roots are in a different land, two different lands, where people do not share our sentiments at all, period. Period. It doesn't exist. As I said before, she didn't grow up with Ronell and Anthony and Chris and Michael. She didn't grow up with them. She grew up with some other people that we after a while, I know that I grew up with a lot of foreign children. I grew up with them. They came to America, and I was so happy to see them. I grew up with them. We grew up with them. We saw them in school. Luckily, we saw them in school. But we didn't grow up quite like she did. We grew up, everybody was American. Everybody came here to grow up and become American. Mom and Dad worked hard to become American, brought the family over to become American. That wasn't Kamala's background. Her parents didn't come over here to become American. Her parents came over here for education. They did the education. They had the communist views, and they kept the communist views very to this day. Her dad was a communist instructor. He claims he's Irish Indian, but people want to say he's Afro. He's not Afro. He never did anything with the conscious Afro community. He did debates, but with white politicians, people into the political stream, or other instructors, other educationalists, but he never, as far as I've seen, been with the Third Eye group, with the Bobby Hemmett's, our elders. He never debated with them on video. He never did any of that kind of work with them, because he's a whole different thing. And Kamala stereotypes black men to be a certain way. But it seems that they don't see how she sees them in a negative light, the black men. She is somebody, to me, in that aspect of her, that can easily trick people. I see that as dangerous. I see that as very dangerous. Um, and that's why they pick her in the first place, because she can easily fool people. But if we look at the circumstances around everything with her, it's very shady. It's not right. She tries to ease in her immigration policies that go against the American people, that would harm the American people. But she says, they won't know the difference. I pretend like I don't know what I'm doing. But at the same time, I'm plotting my plan. I'm executing my plan to bring over military age men. I don't care if they come from the prisons, because that's the better. So this woman, but to other people, they can't believe that she would actually do something like that. So they say, well, she doesn't know what she's doing, or she's not doing her job. That's all you would think about it. That's how you would perceive it. But I don't perceive it as she's not. See, I got my age is 50, but sometimes people can get confused with the 0 and think it's 05. But no, I'm a fully grown, fully matured in mind, where I can see clearly. I'm not an adolescent. I can see clearly. And what I see is the fact that she is able, and Clinton, of all people, yesterday, he said, well, Kamala's job was to go over to these countries overseas and figure out how to get these people legally. But that's not the thing. We're not trying to get everybody to come to our country. But Clinton said we need everybody to come to this country because we're not producing babies. What is it? Is it producing babies, or do you want abortion? Do you want abortion, or do you feel like we're not producing enough children? Because abortion will prevent you from producing enough children. And the economic condition is the problem. So the economic issue should be first, because every American should have the opportunity to rise above poverty and gain some wealth. If that's not happening, that should be happening. That should be happening. Then we wouldn't have to worry about abortion. If your economics is not good, why are you out here producing and getting pregnant? I wasn't going to have no children until I got economically sound and I got myself established. I had to be established first before I even think about children. I have to be well here before I think about children. To get them children to be well, I have to formulate a environment for those children first. That's my thinking. Before I even think about it. So economics is first on the list. This is how we combat as Americans everything. Everything. Somebody taking away our rights. Economics. Get the economics right first. Anybody who's talking anything else other than that, they are terrorists. See how that works? A terrorist. Because Clinton said the other day, speaking for Kamala, speaking up for her, speaking out for her, that Americans aren't producing enough children in America. So the excuse is we need more foreigners over here. No, we got people here that need to be economically sound, but you want to push abortion upon those people before you make us economically sound. So there's an agenda behind that. There's something we can see shady from afar if we would just look. And we can hear it. We can smell it. So Kamala is very shady. And shadiness here in America, and you trying to do some stuff that you think nobody can see. That's what I call that underhanded stuff I was talking about years and years ago, you guys. Underhanded stuff. People say they could not understand what I was saying in my videos because I would talk deep from the spirit world, regurgitating what they want me to say. And now it's going to take the spirit world. But we need all those church people. You have to get out and vote. If you don't get out and do your duty. See, Jesus is within you. God is within you. And people don't know this. People think that you could pray and leave it alone. Yeah, pray about it. Or do your ritual prayer, whatever. It's all the same. Because you're not doing anything but asking your own. When you know the jewels you hold within you, that you are the Almighty and you are the powerful one within you. Now the physical, but the spirit's within you. You got to tap into that thing. And have a relationship with that thing. A deep relationship. Hey, General Mosquito. One that the relationship requires you to listen. It requires listening. It requires you to do some stuff. It requires us some stuff. So Clinton was saying that Kamala's job wasn't the border czar. Her job, according to Clinton, was she was supposed to go overseas and set up a program for them to come over. And yes, she did. She set up a program and they started flying them over. Regardless whether there's people here been waiting 10, 12 years to get their citizenship. But these people got flown over, and we know what for, so the terrorists can steal their way back in office and terrorize us and continue the same cycle for 70 years that it drove me crazy. And I feel it's so unfair for our ancestors who didn't want us in this predicament. They did not ever want us in the predicament. We fought for this country. Besides the people playing on people's minds and stuff, the poison. We all know what the poison is. The poison is the George Soros, it's the Kamala Harris, it's the AOCs, the Nancy Pelosi's, Maxine Waters, Rothschilds, and it's these characters that that plot and plan to go into these countries and come into America and have people uprising and have people big government and have people poverty. What sounds better to you? I go down there all the time and I see that Jamestown, that town that once was in Yorktown, they reenacted, they give tours. I see the village. It was a lovely village. People knew how to hand make things. Can you see how great America would have been? Can you see how much moolah we would have had if we made our own cars here? Can you see how on top of things we would have been if we didn't get caught up or somebody didn't propagandize furniture making and take it away from the South and took it through Canada? Because trade used to be in the South, but they took and changed it at the time and stopped the furniture making, trading, and people looked down on American furniture making, and they looked up at the European furniture making, the quality. That's what Trump is saying. We got to stop, because y'all think this stuff is new. No, this stuff has been going on decades and decades and decades and decades, propagandizing. We can kind of understand the truth about the settlements with the Native Americans and stuff. People wonder why it was peaceful, but then how did it become tyrant and crazy? Because it was poison involved. Hey, Emmanuel Briggs, welcome. There was poison involved. And about what I mean by the poison involved was the people who go in and cause distinctions and cause chaos and that's people like what we see today, the Democrats. And the guy came on my channel and we talked the other day and had a big discussion about why do I demonize the Democrats, and that it's just like me saying that all people are this way, that certain people are all this way. No, No, because we lived 70 years under Democratic rule. So I think that justifies why I see things the way I see things. And it was hard for me to know the difference between a Republican and a Democrat because I have a Republican in my state who is just as bad as the Democrats. And he's been in office and never gave anybody else opportunity to be in office because he always wanted to see the destruction of a certain group of people. He's always wanted to see, hence see that the legacy of the poison that's in our country, that's destroying our country, will continue to have the upper hand, which is the wicked that the Bible speaks of, the wicked. And people are sitting out because they don't know. I'm just going to be honest and say they just don't know. And they don't connect. If you don't connect with the truth within you, then you're not going to know the difference between a lie and the truth outside of you. That's just the way that is. And I was there. And I did not think it was anything that could help me or save me from that. But lo and behold, was I surprised when my own soul, when I realized there was no father clock in the sky, that it was within me all along, that I was lied to. And I needed to decipher from the truth and a lie. And I was like, oh, there's no way. There's no way. I can't ask anybody. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to look. But I was guided to information. And the truth was within me. So what you have to do what they say. What they say to do is meditate on it. Lay in the bed or lay out on a comfortable, what they call those seats outside, lounge chairs, and look up at the sky, be it day or night, and meditate. And then the answers are guaranteed to come to you once you do that. That's all it requires. That's all it ever required. That's all it ever required of us, is to just do that, to look and see and listen. Because, like I said before, the billboards, everything we look at can hold the key to the answer. We just have to have an open mind to what we've been told or we've been communicated. Because there's different ways of communication for us. To us, I mean. Not knowing the website, you're going to be guided to something that is right there for you. Somebody's going to answer you and on what to do. In your heart, what is right to do, whether it be Kamala or Trump. You're going to know once you do that. And I think because they were talking about how there's thousands of religious people that have not registered or able to vote, that they haven't been voting. And now is not the time to give up your eating. We need to put in our work. And our work, our, like I said, our weapon of choice is our voice. We're not going to let a rock cry out for us. And what I mean by a rock is something that wants to come over here to our country and just have. That's not the way we do it. That's not the American way. You can't come over to our country and just stand there like a stone rock and not have to do a thing. This is how Kamala lived her life. She was born here, but still that doesn't say anything for her, because her parents are never got their citizenship, and they moved her right out after she was born here. They moved her to another country, Canada. So she is a true gypsy. And she's like the women, no different than those women that wear the gown covering up their face and, dressing like that. She's no different. That's what her background is. That's where she comes from. So always remember, we got domestic terrorists. I named them already. And Kamala is definitely a terrorist. Just a terrorist. She's not domestic because she didn't live in America long enough. She wasn't an adult when she came back to America. And she has no background with the historical background of our country. No connection with it. No connection. She tries to connect with the civil rights, but that is something that we should be smart about, that I talked about years ago. Nobody can give you civil rights, and all that was a sham. Just like the women's rights movement was a sham. Shady people started that to bring distinction. If they can wealth has been going out the window too, and we see it going year after year after year. We see our wealth going away to other people because we are being distracted by so much. We have been distracted by so much. And now, during this election, distraction is happening again. Instead of us realizing that it's clear to see, not the way Obama said it was clear to see, because that is clear to see that that's a lie. But the way I'm describing, it's clear to see that they built things to control us on a constant basis through our religions. And I tried to bring out the truth about our religion, which is no different than being a Christian. It's no different. I haven't gave up anything. Language is not what I speak from my mouth. May not be okay today. In this days and time, we all have a consensus. Okay, we all have an understanding, and this is something that Shalom the God said on. But language does not have to be mean. Words don't have to mean what somebody wants you to think it means. We have to have an open mind in that. We gotta stop being in a prison hellhole. Well, oops, I can't say that. I can say it. It means nothing. It's gibber gap. And it should not hurt nobody. It should not hurt nobody. You're teaching these Jewish children to still be offended for something that they should be over. You're teaching black children to be offended by something that shouldn't even exist anymore. That probably never existed. If it didn't exist in our past before us, then why is we having it exist after us? That's called a prison of this. And they want to control it and call it misinformation if you go against it. But I've always said, since I've been making YouTube videos, don't let them dictate. Don't let them dictate. Oh, I'm trying to she's always saying something. Always saying something. But I'm trying to still think, Karen, what was she saying in that video? Was she talking about Trump? Let me see something. Oh, YouTube is acting up. Let's see what's going on. Yeah, I would do a short and I would put her little video on top and I would be like, what was she saying? Was she protecting was she speaking up for she doesn't put America first. We already know that. So she was speaking something about the immigration. She can't put America first. She really can't put America first. That's the whole point of it. Yeah. And for those who are into religion, I think when you look within, instead of looking outside and looking in the sky and thinking some Sky Daddy's up there, he's not up there. Sky Daddy he's within us, because we were once stars. We were once sky people. We were once in the what is now the illusion. We were a part of that, and it's an illusion because we're in the physical, but once it was very much our reality. But now we're so far from it, we can't see it as such. We see it as, could it be really real when we look up? But inside out, outside in, outside is in. That's the truth. That's our truth. And when we go and realize we're not alone, that it walks with us and it talks with us, and it is our own. It's our very own. Those footprints are your footprints. See? The shadow, the shadow us, the soul. See? And when we connect to that, we're gonna know which way to go. Oh, yes, indeed, the people will know which way to go, no matter what that man says. All we know, love will grow. That's what the man says. So don't you listen to what that man says, because he says, dun, 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 dun. Oh, yes, indeed, the people will know which way to go, no matter what that man says. But all we know, our love will grow, no matter what that man says. So don't you listen to what the man says, because he says. So with that said, always remember true love, real peace, the higher self within the soul. Until next time, thank you, Shadow Band, for being here. Thank you, General Mosquito, and thank you, Emmanuel Briggs, and those who are in the shadows, the shadow world or the cloud world. Please join me on the next live. Until then, peace. And remember, don't listen to what the man says, but listen to what your heart is speaking to you within. Remember, it's not about the man that they created to distract us from hearing the voices within us on making the right decisions that lead us in down the path, our proper path that we're supposed to go down in our lives. Till then,